Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Paik4Life. Let me just try to adjust this lighting just a little bit so it's a little bit brighter. There we go. How's it going, Antoine? Ep EpiKK Disaster? Alright. So, thanks for joining this live stream review. We're just gonna get started like a regular review, but as always when we do the live streams, if you want to go ahead and chime in, have any good questions that you want to epic disaster, I'm stupid. Epic disaster. If you have any questions along the way, let me know. And like I said, we'll have a few guest stars in here towards the end, so that it'll make your live stream visit worthwhile. So packaging review, we always start with the box. This always is really nicely designed by Chigo King, my good friend. And usually he tries to join these live streams, but he's in France, so that's like 6 hours ahead. So I doubt he's up this early, but he's kind of crazy, so who knows? He might pop in. But here we have Impetus PS13 from Ocular Max, part of their all built in is how they're describing it, Combaticon group. All right, so you can see the nice window art here. He does come packaged in alt mode or pseudo alt mode as opposed to the Asia release. So the Asia release actually comes in robot mode. On the side here, you get the robot artwork. Over here, we actually get product images. On the bottom, we get the warning labels and kind of the silhouettes for the upcoming figures. We'll actually get to take a look at least 2 of these guys later on the review. And on the back is where we get the promo. And they always do this cool kind of transformation form. And I like how they actually went from ARM to alt to robot this time around. Out of the packaging, you do get a few things. Hey Z-Fresh, Forrest, how's it going? Is it worth $100? I would say so. It's a really well-engineered figure. You do get this little translucent red piece, like the G1 style, so you can look at his specs. He has his bio here. He does have instructions. I will say the instructions aren't the best at describing this, but that's because it has some really intricate parts of it and engineering that I'll point out to you. He does have a spec card, just a paper cardboard spec card, and then he comes with his additional weaponry. So he comes with kind of these two. Oh man, mine's missing a piece. All right, well, good thing I have a sample from previously. I'll just swap these out. So this guy is supposed to have another piece underneath here, so we'll just swap that out. But he does come with 2 of these. This one's actually kind of weird too. Let me swap it out for the other one. All right, so I think this is good. Anyway, he has 2 of these that can mount in both modes, as well as this gun here, which can transform for both modes. I'll move these off to the side. Opening this up, he does come in a plastic clamshell, and like I said, he does come pseudo transformed. I did want to give a quick shout out to the Ocular Max team. We already talked about Chigo King. The design is actually done by AK, one of my favorite designers, as well as Macotron. I think it goes by like Macraptron or something like that on TFW. And I definitely want to give a great shout out to Macotron. I don't even know that's how you pronounce it. I don't know them personally, but I want to try to get them on a live stream in the future as well, because from what I understand, a lot of the engineering comes from him as well. So Chigo King did the artwork, Ian Reed and Unum Studios sharing the photos, double duty, video manual by me, and powered by Mastermind Creations. So sorry for the little detour, but out of packaging, he does also have his blades here. And to get him into his alt mode, you really just have to tab this on here. It has a little locking ring that makes it stick in, so you're not worried about it coming unpegged at any point. You can go ahead and tab these 2 guns along the side here. The tail You just need to transform it just a little bit. You have these, I guess what they're always called, like rear stabilizer or something like that. The propeller in the back, I don't know what it's called. But you open this up, open this little piece up as well, rotate this out, and the two halves will just kind of tab together. And the last piece is you kind of extend the two halves of these blades out, rotate them around so that they make a cross, and then lock them in. Right here, there's a little slot. Be careful with these. These are very thin pieces of plastic, and there are pieces in here, or places in the transformation that could be a little hairy when it comes to transforming him and not breaking anything. Z-Vars, like I said, the blades have kind of like a locking ring. See, I had to struggle a little bit. Right at the bottom here, you probably can't see because of the 720p limit that I had, but it has a little bit of a ridge here that keeps it kind of locked firmly in place as opposed to just a regular peg. As far as landing gear goes, he does have one on the bottom rear and these two along the sides, which I think look kind of funky, but according to sources, that is actually accurate to this helicopter mode. How's it going, Tony 77? Tony 77, Tony 77. You can just lock the blades out like that and extend these actual propeller blades, or not propeller blades, rotors. I think they're called rotors technically, all the way out, like so. And they do have like kind of a locking point at 90 degrees. Lastly, you can store the rifle in this slot here. Just open it up, peg that in, and finally we're actually in alt mode. So it looks really nice. Some of the things that I've noticed this time around that I didn't really pay that much attention to, well, it's like the translucent gray windows that are here, here, here. They could have just gone with paint. I mean, they had to for these sections anyway, but it's nice that they actually included that. I also noticed just small details in paint that I never noticed. Like this piece here, this small little section looks to be painted a slightly different gray than that one, for reasons I don't really quite understand, but I guess I appreciate the attention to detail. The differences from what I've seen in the previous prototypes really just come with tolerances. This is a much better tolerance figure. So let's go ahead and pull this out. Hey, how's it going, T-Man? It's nice of you to join one of my live streams instead of me having to come to one of yours. Let's fold this up. Oh, I guess I should have done some comparisons. I don't have any airplanes right around now, so let's go ahead and just bring Streak out, my go-to. So he's about 1.5 streaks long, and you know, a little bit more narrow. I would imagine this is not to scale. I imagine these are pretty big, but it still looks quite nice. And I think just the attention to the molded detail here is really quite nice. A lot of people ask, why is this hollow? Apparently this is the radar sensor or something like that, and that's supposedly accurate. Even some of the stuff that's like asymmetrical, so like here, that's asymmetrical. This line back here is asymmetrical. Apparently that's just all super accurate, but I'm not a helicopter dude, so I don't really know much. I will show off a couple more comparisons just really quickly. Well, I should have just left these out. Here he is next to Frodo. So I did ask Ocular Max MMC folks if I can do a review or preview of this. They have given me the thumbs up to do that. I am waiting on AK because I want to actually have him join the live stream to be able to answer questions and just talk with the fans about the whole process of Frodo and the Combaticons as a whole. So I do want him to be able to join, and he is in a different time zone right now. He's traveling, so I'm going to try to get that done in the next week or so as far as scheduling goes. And then the only other comparison I'll really do is with their Onslaught. And obviously this guy is just huge. You can have him kind of sitting on the back here. Or you can have Frodo and then have him sit on top. Kind of like a alt mode combiner or something like that. Yeah, they look great together like this, don't they, Epic? Yeah. Since we're here, I will show a little bit off of this guy, but I don't want to show too much, mainly because I want you guys to come back for the live stream with AK in the future. And it'll be cool for you guys to come talk and see the details of this. This is my favorite one of the group so far. I haven't had a lot of time with Blastoff, and I haven't messed with Brawl at all. But this guy is really quite clever and intuitive, and I love how this all works. And that's saying a lot just because I really like Impetus too. So we'll talk about him more in a little bit. I guess I'll show him off with a couple weapons real quick. I don't have all the weaponry for him. He should have like one post that goes in the center here that will allow these to combine into a mounted artillery. But unfortunately, they didn't include that in the sample that I got from TFCon. The only thing I got from Blastoff was his gun. They packaged it with mine by mistake. So I don't have Blastoff to show you, but I have his gun. And it looks like it can transform. Okay, let's do it both ways, since I'm known for transformation both ways. There we go. So if you guys have any trouble with transformation of Blastoff's gun, you'll know where to go. One other thing with Onslaught, the only thing I'll show with Onslaught is he has his gun and he has a little peg here. I assume this goes here for that. And then he does have a dual transforming, so he actually goes from alt to bot to combiner and back. Streak with Frodo? Sure. Here is Frodo and here is Streak. I wouldn't say very to scale, but I think it's pretty good. All right, so I forget what figure I was reviewing for a while. So that's really it for his alt mode. He does have articulation here and what we talked about before, but otherwise just a really nice looking alt mode with nice paint here. I'm kind of curious if this is supposed to have paint, but it doesn't. It looks kind of off, but that's the only thing I can think of that looks a little bit off on this. So we're gonna go actually into robot mode and then finish off in combine mode. So let's go ahead and collapse these. These feel very thin too, but they have a good flex to them that makes me less nervous about them than these, just because these are like super tiny. So since we're here, well, let's go ahead and transform this as well. Fold this up. So close these down. And the first thing we'll do is come to the front. You want to lift these little nubbin pieces here and pull out and up. This releases the tab on the centerpiece as well as over here. And then you can pull up on this centerpiece. And it has several tabs that tab in here and here. This is the final version, Hans. Is Swindle heavy? Sorry, I want to say he's heavy. He doesn't have any die cast in him as far as I can tell. But he feels very solid. And there are actually some improvements they're making. I'm getting off track. Like they're filling in some this is a sample, obviously. They're gonna fill in some of this empty panels here and here, I think, as well as some here and here. So they have some minor things to do, but if I got that figure as a final release, I'd be super happy with him. So getting back on track, let's just get this up like this. We're gonna work down the arms from the side. So the arms can actually, well, Oh, actually, it's a little bit easier if we do this. So let's actually separate the waist here. Let's just deal with the lower legs, actually. I don't remember how I did in the official instructions, but if you go like this, open this up, and deal with the lower body, it's pretty easy. Just be mindful that there are a couple of tabs in here that go into the arms, so you're going to want to release that. So that's one of the things that they don't really show that well, that these tabs will go into these 4 tab slots here. Go like that. You want to lift up these pieces on the front, and then everything just kind of rotates around. You'll see the faux front windshield, I guess, here. Close these and tab these in, and you can split the legs in half. Quick thing to note, you want to open these front and back tabs, not flaps, on the hips. The reason why is twofold. You want to see the mechanism that they use to get the legs together and then get them a little bit wider for robot mode, but also because these will sit on the outside of the flaps in robot mode and not for the other modes. You can see these tabs sit outside as opposed to actually tabbing in here. All right, so coming down to the lower leg, you just want to tuck these up and in for now. Tab this in closed, and this flap will actually come in on the inside of the leg. And on for at least for the left leg, there's a small little hole and peg that will kind of keep it aligned and then get the toe flipped down. The other side doesn't have a flap like that, but the friction in the joints itself is pretty solid, so I'm not really worried about that. So there's the lower leg. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on some of these questions here. Yeah, I mean, they're all G1-ish style. Like I said, they're trying to go for the masterpiece style in the sense that they have realistic alt modes and pretty cartoon accurate robot modes. So let's get to the upper body. Let's split this entire tail piece just a little bit. And as I said before, you can actually work the arms down. Just be careful here. This little corner seems to catch a lot. You can see mine's a little bit roughed up. So just be careful when you're working the arms out that way. Bring them down, rotate them to the forward so you can see the elbow joints. And then they have this kind of cool transformation here with the arms. You're going to flip this entire section up and then open this little hatch and swivel out the fist, and that will hide the arms. You can go ahead and plug the gun onto the outside of the arm. So same thing on the other side. We're just going to rotate this around like so. Open this up like that. And there we go. So now we're going to deal with the most complicated part, which is this tail section. And it's not complicated in the sense that it's difficult, really. It's just that there's a lot of clearances that you want to be wary of as so you don't damage your figure. So getting the head out of the way, just kind of tilt it back, and you want to rotate this down on a hinge just a little bit, and then rotate them so you see these inner pieces here, the inner workings. So we'll work one side at a time. Flip this in. These small side pieces will flip in like that, and then it has a cool transformation where it kind of all accordions in like so. So very similar to this side is very similar. You're going to fold that in, rotate these exterior pieces. The one thing that you do have to do here is actually rotate at this pin joint. And then you want to have this piece, the propeller, situated like so that this side actually sits in this recess here. There's a little recess carved out, and you want to have it aligned there, and that will relieve any kind of pressure that you might have in this next step. So up in here, you have this one little flap piece. You're going to be like, what is this for? You really need this only for alt mode. And this alt mode port, I guess this arm clip, this keeps it from moving around. But for all other modes, you want this faced flat here. So just be wary of that, because you might run into some issues with clearance and not being able to get stuff in, and it might just be this flap. So keep it down in every mode except arm mode, okay? So let's bring up this center piece, get the arm through there, through both sides, and then you're gonna get both of these halves rotated like so. They're gonna form two halves of basically his entire torso, or at least the inner workings of the torso. You're gonna just basically push that in, and then they'll tab in on each side. And then to finish up, you're gonna bring this down. This piece is gonna accordion in on itself, and there's two tabs here. And then you wanna make sure that this piece is flat. So you see how this is not residing flat, just push down on that. You'll hear that definitive click, and that's how you'll know everything is in place. Last but not least, let's go ahead and rotate the neck, not the head, but the neck joint itself all the way around. This part is a little bit annoying because the tolerances are tight on it, just so it doesn't pop out, but then it's hard to actually get it around without popping the neck off. So, like I just did there. But it's easy enough just to pop back on. And there we have Impetus in robot mode. Oh, let's go ahead and transform this like this. I think he's supposed to have his propellers out like that. Sorry for the lighting again. Master Hoarder, you want MPs that's transform in 6 steps or less, but then you're not going to have accurate modes. T-Man, you got to get out of here? All right, well, thanks for checking in. The gun here just flips down like so. Oh, man, I just noticed I have no... They gave me like a gimpy defective one. I don't have a thumb on one, and I don't have a part of my blaster. Ocular Max, come on, what are you doing? I'm gonna have to steal that from the sample. But overall, he looks really nice. The only comparison that I currently have, because somebody had mentioned it on the forums, is they wanted to see how big he stacks up with a Seeker. So let me just scoot this up a bit. Handy capable Impetus, I like that. So you can see they're not quite head to head, but I think this size works quite well with the Seeker mold. Hans, I don't have any other versions of the Combaticons. Oh, actually, that's a lie. I have Warbatron, but I don't think he's really a good example. So let's just get this out of the way and do a quick 360. And that's another thing about this set that I noticed. They're all varied in terms of robot mode height. So I think, well, obviously Onslaught's much bigger, but as far as the limbs, I think Fraudo might be around the same height as him, and I think Brawl's a little bit bigger, and I think Blastoff is around his height. So they're all kind of mixed up in terms of height, which I kind of like the variety, but they still form equal length arms and legs and stuff like that. So as far as articulation goes, he does have that ball joint on the head, as well as the ball jointed neck that we saw before. And he even has a little neck joint in here that moves around. It's hard to really show you without taking off the head, so that's why I'm doing so. But the paint on the face is really nice. The red and blue, like kind of like a light blue mask. His shoulders can go out like that, rotate all the way around. He has a bicep swivel. He has a double jointed elbow, which is quite nice. He does have a wrist that swivels. Mine's super tight. He has, I think individual fingers. Yeah, that's what I thought. All of them are individually hinged at the hand with a metal pin, and the thumb is on a ball joint that can swivel around here. This one, he's missing one, so gonna have to get my replacement at some point. He does have a nice ab crunch. It does break up the look in the back quite a bit. And he does have a swivel that will allow you to do a 360 should you need to, I think. I feel like the ones on the Zeta Zeta and Unique Toys, I have a problem with either one or more of their modes, whether it's their alt mode or their robot mode. I think this guide in particular does a really good job in all three modes. I don't really have any complaints in any of them, which is really hard to do. And I think the Unique Toys ones are like super blocky, or maybe it was the Zeta ones that are like super blocky in robot mode, which just doesn't look right to me. But I think this guy looks really good in all the modes. So we were at the thigh swivel. These hip pieces can go out, so you can go forward. You can hear the ratchets go out to the side like so. He does have a double jointed knee bend. And he has this little thigh thing as well. I guess that's considered part of the knee bend. He does even have ankle tilts. It doesn't look like he would, but he actually does have ankle tilts. No forward and back, unfortunately, but he does have a little bit of that toe articulation. But yeah, very cool. I'm not going to take out all of the figures to compare. The only comparison I was going to do in robot mode is Seeker. You can kind of guesstimate what he looks like next to other ones from the Seeker comparison. Does the dark gray paint? The dark gray have a paint finish or just straight plastic? So this is just kind of a matte finished plastic. There's no paint there. The paint is these blue pieces, and like I said, this one light gray piece here is, I believe, painted. It's just really odd. It's like just one piece. I don't see that like anywhere else on this entire figure. I don't know why they felt the need to just do that. I don't know if that is super accurate to the cartoon animation model or not. But yeah, I have no idea where that is coming from, other than I guess they just really wanted to be accurate. So yeah, let's see here. I think they can all use each other's weapons too. So I think they have the same peg set up. So if you wanted him to have Blastoff's gun, he can do that as well. No thumb required. Yeah, I think he looks really good even without paint. Like I like the finish on this. Quite nice. And I haven't been noticing any kind of a lot of sprue marks on like the outward facing pieces. You do see some on like these underneath pieces, but these are hidden in the various modes typically. But otherwise, I don't really see a lot of visible sprue marks or screws. They did screw covers here. You can see some pins here, but overall, it's a very clean construction where, yeah, you don't see the sprue marks that you often see with others. All right, so let's go ahead and get him into arm mode. That's actually pretty quick from robot mode. So let's start with the hand, just because it's super easy. We'll just open this up and then untab here. You're going to pull this out, rotate 180 degrees, push that back in, and that's it. Fold this up. And like I said before, when we go back, you want to get these hip skirts up and out. And then you're going to squish these in, and then you're going to close these up. So let's just get these prepared. Same thing on the other side. Flip this up, get this out, rotate at the wrist. And this is just really clever engineering, how these two halves just work. And here, actually, let me show it to you. So even here, they have an inner piece that you can see that rotates. And in speaking with AK one day, he just said he kind of had an epiphany about how do you do this all-in-one combiner with the hands. And he realized you don't really need hands to rotate 360 like most connections are, like pegs and stuff like that. And once he figured that out, he realized how he could do these two halves together and still keep a really nice, a good amount of articulation, and I'll show that off in a bit, without sacrificing the all-in-one kind of design. Oops. One thing you do want to do here is bring these pieces down, and they have small tabs at the top here. And then you can rotate this one piece is not wanting to come out. Because it's supposed to tab in. I don't know what the problem with this one is. Come on. I'm going to split the... Sorry about that. I'll get to some questions in a bit if I'm missing a lot of them. I'm just trying to get this... What happened here? Oh, this translucent piece popped out for some reason. Do I have everything in place now? There we go. Okay. So as I was saying, the fist can rotate quite a bit. So this is kind of like the top of the or front of the forearm, and you can see you can rotate out almost flat, and they can rotate flat this way. Oop, I forgot to bring the thumb out. I think I actually need to open the hand to get the thumb out. So keep that in mind. I think I did show that order in the official instructions. I forgot to do that here. You do have to get the thumb rotated out first. All right, so then again, you want to squish these in, and then these will tab in appropriately to lock that all into place and give a more narrow looking bicep. And for the top half, we're basically going back into his alt mode. So we're going to rotate the neck all the way back here like so. The arms, we're going to take, yeah, we got to take these off. Oops. Everything's just falling apart here. Maybe the tolerance is a little bit too tight on this version. So with the arm transformation, we're going to go back, open this up, rotate this around. All right, let me see what questions I have. Isofunction says, does he really have ankle tilt rocker? Yeah, he does. And even in the combined mode, he has ankle tilt and forward and back rocking. All right, let's see here. Going on this side, open this up like so. And you want to rotate the biceps inward. Coming back here, let's release these tabs. Come up like that to extend this all the way up. You want to pull out slightly on the two outside parts of the body so that it releases from here. I'm going to lift this up, and as you come up, you want to rotate them outwards like so. Bring this piece down through the middle again. Since we have this open, I'll show you what I meant. So go ahead and get this combiner piece out, and this piece comes in and tabs into place here so that this piece will no longer move. So that's pretty clever. So you won't accidentally sink this back into place. It doesn't use this pivot here or this hinge on this combiner joint as a point of articulation. So it wants to lock it in place. That's what that flap is for. All right. And then for these pieces, we're just going to partially transform it. So you want to pull this out, get them rotated around like that, and then fold this piece along the side. Kind of the same thing here. What? See, the head on the ball joint is the only frustrating thing about this, in the sense that it just doesn't want to transform or stay put in the place you want it to. I'm wondering if there was a better design that could have worked than what we actually ended up getting. Because I don't actually think it needs to have that many points of articulation. I mean, I think you could have kept the neck stationary and just use the ball joint at the base instead of having both, because you can't really cleverly use both without messing up the other anyway. Oh, and for those of you who always are interested in finding where the hidden marking is with the ox, it's in here this time. All right, so then we can push back like so. And then these two halves will peg together. But let's go ahead and deal with the arms first. Get the arms all the way off to the side. See, this head is super frustrating. That's the only thing I hate about this figure. And I do use the term hate a lot, apparently, but I do hate this part. They even fixed the tolerances on it to be a little bit tighter, but it still has issues. So that'll be the only thing that I would say is annoying about this figure. I guess it's not a make or break situation, but it is just frustrating. So rotate these arms up like so, and then we're going to rotate them at the upper bicep swivel to get them down like that, not the lower one. And just like before, you kind of want to align all these pieces up, and then they'll tab in here as well as here with the arms. There we go. And then these little nubbin pieces come down. Uh-oh, I think I messed up here. Yeah, this should all kind of clean up flush. So my apologies there. There we go. And there we have Impetus in combined mode. These pieces kind of just clean up like that. In the instructions, they say go ahead and make this a plus again. I don't really think that's necessary. I don't see it adding in any value, but you can do that if you'd like. You can go ahead and put these back in like so. And as far as I know, there's no real storage for this in combined mode. But he does have a bicep swivel that goes 360, and then he has a very nice double jointed elbow that gets more elbow bend than most figures of any class, let alone a combiner and a all-in-one combiner, or what do they call it? All built-in combiner is what they call it. And nice and ratcheted, so you have a stable arm joint for your combiner, your big combiner. And as I said before, he does have wrist articulation. Thumb is on a swivel as well as a ball joint. And then 2 pins at the thumb first and second joint. Each individual finger is articulated in 1, 2, 3 places. So you got the fingertips, the mid finger, and then the base of each finger is articulated. So this is a lot of articulation for a combiner. I think they did a really good job. I am a little bit concerned, or at least right now, I guess, curious as to how they're going to make this joint better for the combined mode, because the prototype I have isn't great. As far as finger spread, there is no finger spread, unfortunately. You can see that they're all just pin joints here. No finger spread whatsoever. Aside from the thumb, obviously. And again, as far as how big this is, it's a pretty big arm. Even with the fist curled up, you can see it's taller than a Masterpiece figure, probably taller than MP10. All right, let me try to catch up on any questions that you guys had before. Z-Farce, the QC is definitely not bad on this figure. The only thing I have an issue with is the ball joint. And I think, again, it's just the design. I don't know why the reason why it's hard to maneuver is because it has 2 ball joints on each end of a joint. So how do you easily move one over the other. I would have preferred if they just kept the neck at the base of the head, one stationary piece, and then left the joint at the bottom as a ball joint. Or they could have just made the ball joint at the neck a swiveling hinge or pin joint and left the ball joint in the head. Either of those I think would have been better than having two ball joints at either end. Paik4Life, yeah, that's not a bad nickname. So I think I measured it at 17 inches, Trents, from foot to head. So I think when I was on the live stream with T-Man and Figure Action, they measured Toy World's Devastator around like 22 or 23 inches. So I think that's, or maybe 22, 21, something like that. So it's considerably smaller than those, Zeta and Toy World. But obviously keep in mind that they're using a lot of parts transforming, especially in the torso, waist area, to actually achieve that real height. All right, so we'll just do really quickly transform back into robot and then finish off in alt mode. So let's just do the arms and legs just because they're super easy to do. We'll just make sure the arms are split or are positioned this way, the hands, to make it easy to split down to center. The thumb you need to curl up like so, and then you can curl up the fist. Get this up and around like that. You can close this up. Bring this all the way in on the inside. Make sure this is still tabbed in. And then you get the toe down. You get back into his foot mode. Bring this all the way around and in. Close that and tab that in. And we're good there. Bring the waist around to the front. Open these up. Get the hips splayed out just a little bit, so he doesn't look like he has to go pee all the time. Bend this joint here. Actually, let's try to get this open. You want to make sure that you pull back on this flap, and then you can go ahead and push this back in, like so. Get these blasters out of their holes there. When I've transformed, I always like to keep these together. They just make it a lot easier on everyone's life if they're just out of the way. All right, like that. Again, bring these out to the side, being wary of this piece here. Bring the arms down and around. Open this flap. Get this around and down. All right. So we're basically done. Again, the only last thing we need to do is this tricky part, or like I guess the trickiest part of this transformation, which is to get this head from not popping off while we get these pieces down up front. See, I think it already popped off. See, again, I don't know why I don't know why they felt the need to even add this here. So let's just try to get it in again. I'm wondering if I'm not even like, because it feels like I don't have it locked in all the way actually when I'm pushing it back. Because usually there's like a definitive pop when I put that ball joint in, but I'm not really feeling that. Anyway, we're just going to keep going. So bring these down. Rotate these external side pieces like so. Fold this up and in. And again, remembering with this piece to rotate it in so that this black piece goes in that little cavity. Here, rotating these pieces in. This will all accordion very cleverly. Get this big arm piece through the center. Again, keep these kind of in a perpendicular shape here when you close this up. What's going on here? Something feels like it's caught on something. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, bring these down. And oh, see, this flap went up. Make sure it's down. There we go. Those have tabbed in. Bring this down, up, and down. And we're good there. And then the last thing is basically just ripping off the head, because that's just way easier than dealing with it. There we go. That time it popped in. We're back in robot mode. And then getting back into helicopter mode is kind of going all the way back to where we were before. Open this up. But there are some important points that I want to make, which is why I always do both ways transformation. Because once you get to transforming to the alt mode, there are a couple of tabs and slots that make everything hold together really well. But if you don't do it correctly, or you're not aware of it, you're going to feel like something's colliding and so forth. So let's deal with the upper arms first. Get this back around. Again, the head just popped off. All right. Open this up. Extend that all the way. Remember to split the two halves. You want to get this off to the side like so. Bring this down through the middle, and then just extend these as we've been doing back and forth this whole time. Flip out this piece. Rotate these pieces around. And then get this around and back like so. Same thing on this side. Flip this all the way around. Play the drinking game every time that the head pops off. I'd be super drunk already. I'm a bit of a lightweight as it is. So definitely not playing that game. And remember to go ahead and use this pin joint to come out like so. And then the two halves come together. This little tail piece has a small little peg. And the propeller piece, you want to extend it out. Rotate it around. Line up the notches. And we're good to go. All right, bring the arms out to the side. Bring them up. All right, and again, when we bring the rest of the pieces up, we're gonna worry about these 4 slots, this tab, and these 4 slots when we get everything transformed. Make sure to keep this flap down. Let's go ahead and deal with the legs first. Let's flip these up. We're essentially going to open up the legs because you need those thighs to actually collapse in on them. The hands will come out part way like this because they're going to combine and they're going to fill in this recess that's left from where the tail was. So it's going to swap duty essentially, remembering to keep this flap down. Let's get these legs and thighs together. Like that. I feel like it's a little bit easier to deal with all this once you have the two halves combined instead of doing it afterwards because there's not a lot of room in here. So remember to fold in the side skirts first and then the front and the back. And now we're going to go ahead and come in like so. It's a little bit easier if you make use of that ab crunch to bring it down like this. And from here, you're going to worry about a couple of extra tabs here. So these tabs on the side here will lock into these openings here. Did I miss something? No, I think I'm good. Remember to keep this flap down. Many a transformation is going to be screwed up by that flap not being down. It seems like mine's getting screwed up by something. What is going on here? The flap's down. Oh, okay. I don't know what it was, but something was interfering. So as I said before, be mindful of this tab on this vertical piece on the rotor, and then these shoulder pieces. So the shoulder pieces need to be in as far as they can be, like so. So everything's flush in order for these tabs to come in. So once you come in, you're gonna push down on it to get it underneath this piece, and then they'll lock in. And you'll see these two side pieces have hooked these in, and you're good to go there. Bring out the front windshields. I've been having problems with this one piece right here. There we go. Okay. Now everything just comes into place. There's two tabs here that will go into the foot piece here, and then two more that will sit in the front. So you would need to do the center piece first to lock these in. What's going on? There we go. And then the side pieces will tab in to their respective areas. Come on, there we go. Everything here is just a formality of closing this up. Get to the chop. Oh, yeah. Sorry, it's taking such a long time. And there we finally, well, I'm not even there yet. Finally, once we pull out these pieces here, we have Impetus back in his helicopter mode with his accessories yet to be plugged in. So yeah, I'm sorry for the long review and explanation. Hopefully that gives you enough insight into some of the small but clever tabs that make all this work, right? Some people might find it frustrating, but I find it really nice that everything has a tab and a tab has its place to lock everything into a solid alt, robot, and combined mode. The only frustration I've had, and I'm very open about this, is that head or neck piece. All right, so what did I miss while trying to finish this transformation? All right, everyone seems to think it's a good idea for me to do a live stream where I drink every time the head pops off. We'll put that in the idea basket. Nightwing Wingnum says, "Duty, does it need a dipper?" What does that mean? He says, "Is there going to be a large departure in design like Zeta in any of these figures, or is one going to look more off?" So if you look at the that video, that rendered video that they did, you have a pretty good idea of what everything looks like and how they scale. So again, they aren't all going to be the same height in robot mode, which I kind of like. But they all look really cohesive. The only one that I think looks a little off in robot mode is Onslaught, and that's just because he is so massive and he has kind of a larger torso. So if you look at some of my other previews that I've done of this set in the past, you can see how that looks. But as far as engineering and combined mode, I think this is a really, really clever set of designs. And so far, I've been happy with all of them. So this one's really good. This was the first one I really experienced. It's pretty cool, pretty fun to transform overall. I think it looks great in all three modes. I'll say the same with Fraudo. Fraudo here looks great in this mode. It has some details, like when you transform it into combined mode, where this flap opens up just to make it look like a more solid leg. As it has cool transformation pieces like this. I'll just show you off a little piece. So this will come down, and you actually see the ankle joint here. So the two halves form an ankle joint. So he still has ankle tilt and forward and back. Well, here, let me just make him into a foot real quick. Not the whole foot, but at least into a bit of the foot so you guys can see what I'm talking about with the ankle joint. It's going to take too long to transform him into a full foot, but at least you'll get an idea of how this works. There we go. So this rocker piece will come down to form a flat foot here. And as I said, this isn't the full foot mode. This top piece has to flip around, and there's a lot of other stuff that happens. This piece I think will fold down as well to fill in the gap. But the whole idea of this foot is really nice. So again, two halves that allow you to have a good amount of ankle tilt in both directions. He still has forward tilt. He doesn't have backwards tilt. He goes flat foot, so he doesn't have anything far behind that. He can get heel back and toe forward, down. So he still has a ton of articulation in combined mode, and again, it's still an all-in-one transformation. So it's pretty clever. Even the joint mechanism that they have for the knees is really well thought out. There's like 3 different mechanisms that all make it work in conjunction to make a solid knee joint or connection point, not just like one little thing. So like this thing kind of will look like this, and it'll slot into a opening in Onslaught's leg. This piece opens up, and this is where you slot it in the I-beam, and this closes up to lock it into place there. Come on, what's going on? Oh, there you go. Locks it in here, and then there's another piece on the toe that tabs in to these tabs here. So there's a lot of really clever design that they have that I haven't seen in any other combiner, that has me fairly confident that it's going to be a very solid a combined mode, which is good because you always have concerns about a company the first time going into a combiner, how well that's really going to fare. And from what I've seen, everything has me very confident, except I hope they're improving the arm joint, the shoulder joint. But again, it looks like Onslaught is the least finished one so far, and I think he's going to be the last one to be released. So I'm hoping that they're going to do something that at least improves on the samples I've seen thus far. So again, I've only seen samples so far, so they could have already made improvements or whatever, but I can only speculate at this point. But even this stuff is just really quite clever and cleans up into quite a nice alt mode. I don't trust Rinders. What are Rinders? Alpha Bravo repaint? Yeah, but do you really need an Alpha Bravo? Do people really care about Alpha Bravo? He's like the redheaded stepchild of the aerial bots. Antoine Lewis, the next release, I think the next release is going to be Fraudo. I think he's pretty soon. Sebastian, did you say they're going to be an additional parts for parts forming torso piece? There is no parts forming torso piece. So let me just show this really quickly. Again, just to make you guys value actually spending time on this live stream. This entire torso piece and the crotch piece all reside inside of Onslaught. So here's some more of the torso piece here. There's more in the front, which I think is hidden by, I forget how this door opens. Yeah, see? So there's a front piece here. What you may have seen on my Facebook and in TFW is that this is currently, I think, the toy version of the chest, but they're also going to be releasing simultaneously our cartoon chest for Onslaught, as well as a different helmet to be more cartoon accurate, so that fans of either the toy or the cartoon will have their pick of which Onslaught they'll have. According to Lazy Azza, who does the, I think he helps on the color selection, that they actually are also changing some of the coloration of like these parts here. Like I think this olive green is gonna be a bit darker. I don't know about the navy. He posted on the thread on TFW, but there are gonna be slight color variations in the base of Onslaught as well. But yeah, I think one of the best, I guess, examples of why I think this set is going to be really good is I took these to the Northern Virginia meetup group the other week, and I showed all three of these off. I had shown this guy off previously. I think I shown an earlier sample of this off, but I gave these to the group to just mess with, and without any kind of instruction, two different people were messing with both of these figures. They were able to figure out all three modes without instructions for Fraudo and Onslaught. They weren't perfect because there are like small details that they missed that even I missed, even having these for a long time, like flipping these up to peg in to keep the back solid, like these small flip out pegs here, stuff like that. But being able to say that any transformer nowadays you can transform without instructions is, I think, a testament to how well designed they are and kind of intuitive they are. So, all right, we're just over an hour now, so hopefully you guys really appreciated this live stream review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I really did. Let's see if there are any more other questions I can answer before we sign off. Have you been told anything about G1 toy releases for the Limbots? I haven't heard anything about that. I'm guessing you're meaning stuff like the different head sculpts and stuff like that, and maybe different colors. I haven't heard about that, but I imagine, I mean, we're talking about Ocular Max here. They are pretty good about reusing their molds and recolors to satisfy fans, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I still function. How dare you? Alpha Bravo is my favorite G1 character. Right. Okay, well, we can't be friends anymore. Antoine Lewis gives me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. Late to this, how tall will this be in combined mode? I'm assuming you're saying combined mode. We talked about this. I think he's 17 inches from to the head, so it's going to be about 4 or 5 inches shorter than the Zeta and Toy World scale that they've established. Wild Bill asks, can the middle finger and Onslaught pivot in truck mode? Can the middle... Oh, the middle, okay. So this piece, it just goes up and down as well as all the way around. This does also extend, and these blasters can kind of move around. There's also a piece here, and I think you're supposed to basically, for maybe combined mode, bring these out like that to make them a little bit wider. But I'm actually just speculating there. They haven't given me instructions. I'm just guessing. Yeah, I don't know if they're supposed to be out or in. The trailer? No, there's no tilting on the trailer whatsoever. It's a solid piece. The only kind of tilting you do is if you move this, you can like rotate this, which I don't think is the kind of articulation you mean. There's no actual joint that lets you kind of pivot at the trailer portion. Unfortunately. Did the original G1 toy do that? I feel like the G1 toy didn't. What is it? Antoine asks, will they release another version of Fraudo and Brawl to have the correct color matching toy feed color? I don't know. So again, they haven't told me anything about that. All I know is that they already said that they will be doing a simultaneous release of the toy and toon color chest. Yeah, sorry, Leo. I'm sorry that's not the type of tilting you wanted. Yeah, I didn't think the G1 toy did either, but yeah, you are right. This isn't a G1 toy, but I'm just trying to remember. Even in the cartoon, did his trailer actually come as a separate piece, or was it just one extended piece like this? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, the turrets, these move up and down and around and so forth. I think I showed it off before. It even has like the secret, whatever, destruct sequence piece in here. That detail from the cartoon. Yeah, these turrets move separately. I don't know if that's what you meant. Again, I'm not a G1 toy collector, so I don't really know. My G1 toy knowledge is pretty limited. All right, so I like I said, I am working on a schedule for doing a full live stream review of this, preview of this, where you'll be able to see all three modes as well as the transformation, and hopefully the one of the designers, AK, will be joining live from that. If I can't work out a schedule with him, I'm going to see if I can get uh, Makotron to or Makotron or however you pronounce it to join, but that's going to be my backup. Anthony Ortiz asks, so this set is to complement TFM or Generation Toy Combiners. It's really up to you. I think in terms of size, like I said, it is going to be smaller than the Zeta and Toy World one. So that's really going to be up to you. If you want something to scale that way, you're probably going to want to go with like a Zeta scale. This is going to be about 17 inches, so considerably shorter. Once I do a preview of them with Fraudo, I'll probably in Fraudo's live stream, I'll probably show them combined, and then if I can fit, if I can fit Toy World Devastator, I'll try to do a head-to-head with with one leg and one arm, kind of showing how tall they look next to each other. So hopefully that will help folks. All right. So that's it for me, everyone. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I will be back in the next week or two with a Fraudo full preview. I don't have Blast Off, so I won't be doing that. And I think Onslaught's still too far away for me to do, but I'll go ahead and ask. They'll probably have more versions of this at TFCon DC in October in a couple months. I'll be there as well. So hopefully you'll be able to see the whole crew together at that time. All right? Thanks a lot, everyone. Hope you have a good one.